what does the future of AI mean for customer relationships? What does the future of AI mean for technology? Have you heard of the innovator's dilemma?
Yes.
Classic thing of like, do you disrupt yourself or do you wait to be disrupted? That's a decision point for most executives.
Joining me for this conversation is Rowena Westphalen, our SVP of Innovation, AI, and Customer Advisory at Salesforce. Welcome, Rowena.
Thanks, Leandro. It's great to be here.
Likewise, having you here. Tell us a little bit. This is an interesting title. What is your role and the kind of folks on your team?
It's the joke about does anybody actually know what I do? So I do joke about having hackers, hipsters, and hustlers who partner with our customers to help them uncover value, who all know how to innovate to help deliver exceptional value to their businesses.
I love that tagline, the alliteration: hackers, hipsters, and hustlers.
That's right.
Incredible. So look, right now there's a lot of technology advancement happening at the moment. How is your team coming to those conversations? Like, where are the conversations starting?
Well, it's a really interesting time, isn't it? Look, I'd say the last few years, the conversations have always been around customer, right? So more and more organizations are wanting to move away from a product-centric view of the world, where they've probably become successful from that, and they want to move to a customer-centered view of the world. They're trying to win the war for attention with their consumers and with the business that they partner with. And so that's been the conversation for a few years. What's become increasingly prevalent, I would say the last 2 or 3 years, but then really accelerated in the last 18 months, is this conversation about AI.
No.
Yes. Surprise, surprise. But really how artificial intelligence, automation, and technology can not only, alleviate repetitive and low-value business processes or business tasks, but can also potentially accelerate and create new business models on which we can, create new value for our communities.
So tell me then, your team comes in to one of our customers. Where does that conversation start to identify where this technology might be able to help improve, low-value repetitive tasks?
That's an interesting one. We're often talking about how hard it is to sell software. I can tell you it must be much harder to buy software than it is to sell software, right? All the vendors can look very similar. It's increasingly difficult to differentiate between vendors, particularly at the demo stage, and when you're kind of on the periphery. But of course, it's not always feasible just to try something out, right? So stakeholders and businesses that are making decisions about how to proceed with AI, they've got lots of different things they have to balance. And often selecting the technology is one of the simplest parts of that. So depending on where the customer is in their decision process, we might come in with very different approaches. But I'd say a couple of things are always true. We think it's really important to diagnose before we prescribe. Every customer is unique and their circumstances are specific. So we do like to spend a lot of time really orienting ourselves around what's going on in the customer's organization and doing that quite seriously before we actually say, here's the solution.
Here's the prescription.
Here's the prescription. I think one of the reasons that's important is because technology can do anything. Whatever the requirement, it's going to be fairly simple to customize Salesforce to get an outcome. What we need to make sure is that the outcome we're delivering is strategic and aspirational for the business.
There's always a kind of a return of somewhere else the attention could have been delivered, if not there. And you're right, like we don't want to just prescribe a prescription or a technology before we understand what's really going to move the needle. And I'm assuming it's getting more increasingly the C-suite that's coming and asking for this. What does success look like to them? And how do you marry that up with sort of some of the description you had there from your team?
The most successful customers who partner with Salesforce have ambitious growth visions. Technology, particularly in Australia, has traditionally been used to drive cost out of the business. There's only so much productivity and efficiency you can drive. The real answer to any business is, of course, to create and drive new revenue streams. Understanding the executive in the business who's really focused on, here's how I'm going to add value for my customers, and then us applying, this is how our solutions can help you achieve that, is the key thing.
I think that's a difference sometimes between our global counterparts and our regional counterparts, because in our region, we are a little bit more risk averse, especially in Australia, New Zealand, and broader APAC. So being able to align and to deliver on those use cases is meaningful. Obviously, AI, we believe, is more than just removing repetitive tasks, but it actually can help drive new revenue streams or drive growth. Can you share some examples of how that might be possible?
A lot of us at the moment are focusing on generative AI because obviously there's lots of unmet potential there.
And a lot of excitement.
A lot of excitement. So we've created a concept called a data and AI lab. But we established a small unit within the customer. We did it recently with one of the retailers. It was great. And this is a fantastic actually, because they were like, they said you've got 6 weeks to set something up, and we delivered a business outcome in 2 weeks. So that's phenomenal. Incredible. And this is a small contact center that they use for managing trucks that go between distribution centers and stores. If they can't get their product to their customer, there's a real value issue there. And so we've used generative AI with that contact center to help summarize cases, quickly get answers back. We've used our prompt studio around that. What surprised me in both of these cases is the use cases they get most excited about are like the most boring. Like, the thing they got most excited about is the fact that right within the flow of work, they could upload a CSV file. Now, a CSV file is like an Excel spreadsheet,
It's not sexy at all.
Not sexy at all. But you know what it is? It's supplier onboarding. Because every time they get a new product supplier, that supplier has to load up, these are the products I have and they cost this much and this is the barcode and da-da. And they've all got their own proprietary format, but the grocery store expects it in another format.
So there was a human having to triage.
So there's this constant friction at just onboarding suppliers. And look at that. Generative AI is like, oh, I know over here it's called B code and over there it's called barcode. I'll just synthesize them.
No, I love that.
And so literally the CEO of one of the biggest retailers was getting completely excited about the fact that we helped him upload a CSV file. I'm like,
but applied very cool technology to it as well.
Right.
So you mentioned the data and AI lab. How can a customer really get engaged with us on doing something like that?
It's certainly a C-suite sponsored engagement. Generally, the CEO is sponsoring an initiative around AI, and they can, connect them with me or to one of the other executives at Salesforce who can sponsor. That's right. And then we simply agree what's the scope of the project, what are we trying to achieve, and then what we'll do is some of my team, and sometimes also either a partner or professional services, will embed themselves in the customer with those team members and together deliver a specific business outcome.
People don't quite understand the art of the possible, what they might want until they really start to understand. And someone in the business needs to be there, but they also need some guidance. Where do you feel if we fast forward to a year from now, are we still going to be having these conversations and customers are still going to be exploring, or are we going to be further along?
I don't think so at all. I think we'll have customers achieving real value and direction through that. What does the future of AI mean for customer relationships? What does the future of AI mean for technology? Have you heard of the innovator's dilemma?
Yes.
Classic thing of do you disrupt yourself or do you wait to be disrupted? That's a decision point for most executives. They might feel nervous about adopting new ways of working, but unfortunately, if they don't, a competitor could easily come along and invalidate their business model. So when we think about the AI use cases, we often like to think about mindsets. So as we start using AI in a more agentive way, the role that AI plays is going to change.
It has to change. One area which I think is fascinating, we both have families, is this is a fast-moving space.
Yeah.
How do people get into this? You've mentioned you've got a diverse group on your team.
Yeah.
Recommendations for folks that want to get onto this train?
Yeah. I mean, don't be shy. Diversity is going to drive this, right? So if you're a person that's out there that's like, oh, I'm really interested in this, but I don't think I could ever do it, stop that voice. You probably can do it, particularly if you've got a strong business background, if you're good at being creative. You don't have to be technical to get into AI. And the people who are going to come up with the great use cases are people who can think outside the box, who understand what makes business tick. Anyone who's wanting a fresh lease of life could be looking at this as a new career potential for them.
Well, thank you so much, Rowena, for sharing your thoughts. I know you're always out there meeting our customers, so to sit down and capture some of those live is truly a delight. Thanks again.
Thanks very much, Leandro. It was great to spend time with you.